Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Kill the noise and cut the static. Broadcasting from high in the mountains of West Virginia, we're leaving the 9 to 5 in the rearview mirror. The engine is warm, the lights are green, and it's finally time to shift your Wednesday into overdrive. And now, here's your host, Diego the Podcaster.
On this episode of Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, our guest is an author whose work thrives where the scorching sun meets the deep shadows, a lifelong lover of storytelling who writes fiction that beautifully blends dark imagination, suspense, and character-driven narratives that often explore the shadowy edges of human nature. From his home base in Apache Junction, he continues developing stories that range from supernatural horror to gritty desert noir, frequently drawing inspiration from the harsh landscapes and unique communities of Arizona. All this plus more. Please welcome our new friend and first-time guest, author Brian Wayne Hand. Brian, my friend, welcome to Bonus Overdrive Wednesday.
Dude, it's so good to meet you, Diego. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great meeting you too. And we had to thank our good friend Thomas Morgan from Zombie Media for making the connection.
Yes,
And
sir.
we've been texting back each other, I think for about a month now, trying to schedule this interview. And here we are, my friend. You know, a lot to talk about here, a lot to unpack. And I always like to start things first of how things got started, but I'm gonna do it just a little bit different. Um, 2013 was when you had your first novel, correct?
Man, that's
Around that
correct. Yes,
time?
sir. Yeah, right around then. Yeah, it's about 13 years ago. Correct. Yeah, man.
And I dare say it was Crown of the Underworld, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, that's
All
correct.
right. And that's what kicked off your journey as an independent author. If let's go back in our time machine, get in our DeLorean. Let's revisit this because it's definitely very challenging writing a book. I did one and I felt like it sucked the life out of me. Not mostly because of it is very challenging to write one, but for me it was more of the you send it to the publisher, he does these things, it's out there for the public to read. That gave me more anxiety than actually writing the book itself. So drawing on that, what influenced you to write Crown of the Underworld and when did you finally decide that that was the right time to write a book?
Yeah, I'd written several novels before then, short stories. And I landed on Crown of the Underworld was just came out of it was a contest from years before to write a screenplay for like an Indiana Jones romancing the stone kind of movie. And so I came up with this whole concept based around this Noah Chapman character. And so I'd written, I wrote the middle book, then I wrote a sequel, and then I wrote a prequel and decided to release the prequel, which was Crown of the Underworld in 2013. And it was an exciting time. Um, I hooked up with a publishing company that offered us the opportunity to release a book if we could get 100 pre-orders. So we had to get 100 pre-sales, guaranteed, and then they'd release that book. And man, thankfully I had a really strong family. My dad was really, really involved in it. And you'd think 100 pre-orders would be easy. Trying to get somebody to buy something and you don't have a physical copy to give it to them and they don't know who you are. I mean, we went through the whole family, the aunts and uncles and the cousins and the friends, and everybody was buying up, copies to get it released. But it took us about 9 months, I want to say, Diego. It took about 9 months to get it. And we got it. It was a huge deal, huge celebration. And then nothing happened, and to put all that effort in. And it was so funny because back then we had the physical copy and everybody wanted like a Kindle. Everybody wanted an electric copy. And I didn't know how to do that. Um, all I knew was I had this publishing company that was willing to release this book and we got it released and it was a fun time. And now 13 years later, I took that big break. I was still writing. I was writing a lot, but man, I was really kind of defeated and if went through all of that process. And now 13 years later, I'm back with all these new stories and a whole new way to get it out there. And that is what's exciting to me is to be able to share all this stuff, and people could get it much easier now than they could 13 years ago.
And that's true. And I'm going to ask this question, but I'm not trying to get too personal.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of show. But it could be. It could be. No, with that, that's a long time to take a break in between writing books or
Mhm.
novels. Being a creative person that you are, what kind of outlets were you using to release that? Were you playing music? Were you drawing? Were you painting? What was going on at that time?
So during that time, I was still writing, but I couldn't focus. I couldn't finish anything. So it was a bunch of half-written stories and stuff. And back then, man, I was drinking a lot. So that took up a lot of my time, was focused on drinking. And I'm coming up on 9 years this month of sobriety. So I yeah, I
Awesome.
took a lot of that time to get to get up the courage, I would say, to release something else. And that was basically what it was. It was like when the time aligned um, for me to finally. I remember my cousin and my girlfriend both about the same time a couple months ago said, "You should just release something on Kindle." And I never thought about that. I was like, no, I want to release it as a book. I didn't understand the whole Kindle concept. I mean, I knew what it was, but I didn't think of it. And it's funny, I started thinking it along the terms of musicians releasing almost like a cassette tape back in the day out of the trunk of their car. It
Right.
was they just wanted to get their stuff out there. They just wanted to, for people to hear their music. And so that's how I started thinking about it. And I was like, that's all I want. I just want people to read something I wrote and something that's personal to me and affect them, or they love a character or they hate a character, whatever it is. So that's kind of what it took me that 13 years to get to here. Um, just because now that I mean that opportunity's available now. I feel like it wasn't back then.
Well, that's thank goodness for technology. It can either work with you or work against you. And I think that there's highs and lows because a lot of people, like I said, they want to sell those physical copies.
Yeah,
They also want to get a Kindle. But I'm one of those, and I might be a rare bird. I don't know. But when I meet an author and I buy a physical copy from them, I don't buy them from stores for some reason. I like to buy them
right.
when and I like to meet the author, have a conversation.
Sure.
But then I'll come back home and I'll buy the Kindle version as well because I don't want my book being ruined. I don't know where I was going with that, but what I'm saying is,
Well, that's what's funny is
yeah,
now that I'm able to do this on Kindle and I'm able to release, I'm releasing, trying to do a short story once a month just to get some stuff out there, just to build up some momentum. Um, and now everybody's coming to me and they want the physical copy. They want it. So it's like what was old is new again. Um, and so that's where zombie media kind of lined up at that point. Was at the same time I was releasing this a town called Sundown on Kindle. I met Tom and sent him a couple of short stories, and we were able to put that together. And then I got a copy of it, and people started ordering copies, through Zombie. And to have that physical copy in my hand again, I'm just like, man, I love it. I love having that physical copy uh, to hold, to sign, to be inspired to do another one. So I get it. I get it.
yeah, nothing beats you get that package in the front
Right.
door. You open the and it's like this is my hard work
That
come
was
to life.
Yeah.
But now I got to go out there and meet the readers, the fans. And you brought the a town called Sundown. This is
Yeah.
one of the things that drew me because before we get into that, a lot of with your stories, you're very influenced by your environment, where you
Yes.
live, the state that you live, and a lot of that a lot of that energy gets channeled through your stories. There are some writers that may write books, but they don't necessarily focus too much on where they live. But it seems that your heart and soul is Arizona, and I am going to pop up this book cover right now. A town called Sundown. Um, I love this cover, my friend.
Yeah.
And tell me something about this scene right here. What is it? Because it immediately took my focus. It's like I need to get this book.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. it's just an introductory scene. It's kind of what inspired me to write the book further. This book was just born out of, man, it literally came out of nowhere. And this cover just kind of represents the guy new to town, coming into town, and going on this, this crazy ride that he goes on. Um, it's going to turn into a series, uh, and I'm really proud of being able to combine a western. Which, man, when I was young, my dad had western books all over the place, and I never really thought of writing a western, but I wanted to write something that represented Arizona, but also represented me, with as that kind of that darker story. So taking that combination of a vampire and and a western and putting it together, that's what I got with the town called Sundown.
And that could possibly be back then because Western times, there's so much folklore. There's so many stories that you can gravitate to. In fact, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I was writing something, and I know this show is not about supernatural or cryptids or anything like that, but I believe there's something in the Arizona desert. I really hope is Arizona because I'll be very embarrassed when I bring this up if I don't get this right. Have you ever heard of the cactus cat?
The Cactus Cat, I have not. But is that like a crypto? Like a
Yes.
Okay.
Now, apparently, this wild cat survives by eating cactus or drinking the whatever the liquid is inside of a cactus water. And
Huh,
when
okay.
it's and I believe I don't know, I'm not a chemist or anything like that, but I guess some of that is fermented, and maybe the cat kind of gets a little bit. It's like desert moonshine. I don't know if that's true or not. So they
Uh,
can hear these things howl at night. Have you heard anything like this? Have you been to the desert or heard anything weird like that?
well, man, we hear coyotes all the time, and I tell you, that's an ominous sound when we live right by the Superstition Mountains. And if you want to talk about where a lot of that inspiration for some of these stories comes from, this whole area, especially with those mountains, has such a folklore. The legend of the Lost Dutchman is a big thing out here. Is there gold? Is there gold in the mountains? No, there's a lot that goes into it. But at night, and you hear coyotes, and you'll hear a pack of coyotes, and they're getting something, and it's a scary sound. Um, I haven't had too many weird encounters out here. Um, you come across people that do. Um, I mean, the weirdest thing in Phoenix was the Phoenix Lights back in like 1997, which I do have some work around that too. I got a short story based on that. Um, but yeah, that's what the inspiration out here is. It's kind of eerie, especially out in the desert, especially at night. So, but I've never heard of the cactus cat. I do know of animals that live. We have like the cactus wren that lives up in the cactuses, but I've not heard of the cactus cat. The biggest one out here is probably like the chupacabra.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sure, yeah, like that, skinwalkers, stuff like that. But yeah, that's where you can have a lot of fun with writing.
No, and you can. And I'm talking about westerns. I'm hot and cold with westerns sometimes. Uh, for me, I don't know what elements I look in a western, but it has to feel kind of like legit in a way. And I love reading about outlaws and what back in the day, and I listen to podcasts about outlaws that perhaps aren't very popular in the movies at this time. Growing up in your area where you're at, every state has some sort of a local history course or class that you take for a semester or what have you. What kind of things do they teach you in school there as far when it goes to that period of time?
Right. I mean, they don't really teach too much in school about it, but everybody that lives here, like we have our classic, like Arizona outlaw is Tombstone. South of Tucson, very southern Arizona with Wyatt Earp and all that. So there's a lot of that history when you go, especially if you've ever gotten. Well, if you've never been to Arizona, you have to go to Tombstone, and see that and kind of walk in that area. That has a lot of good stories down there too. So that was something that was like I think a rite of passage for Arizona, residents to go down there.
You have to do it, or else you're not going to be considered a true Arizonian.
Right. Yeah. You have to go to Tombstone.
Sure, and that's that's okay. We have towns like that here in West Virginia. It's like if you don't know this place, you're not from here, so you got to
Right.
go figure it
Right.
out really quick. But let's hop back real quick to a town called Sundown because you mentioned vampire. I'm already intrigued, and I don't want to give too many spoilers. I want the readers to either download or buy a physical copy. So give us a little bit of a background on how, or the name of the character, the vampire, and how he wound up in this town.
Yeah. So basically, it just all comes down to a story of a man hunting the people that killed his family. Um, there's also a legend going around called the Death Dealer, who is secretly going around and killing vampires. Um, but eventually, the main character comes into play as you're not really sure if he's a hero at first or if he's a villain. Um, but you quickly find out that yeah, he's there to kind of walk that line. He's without giving too much away. He's kind of got playing both sides. We'll say that.
All right. And with the subject of vampires, just as I'm hot and cold about vampires too when it comes to movies or what I read. And what are some of your favorite vampire stories or movies out there that maybe help shape some of what you wrote?
Vampire stories. I mean, I got to go to Anne Rice for sure. Anything by Anne Rice when it comes to vampires. Uh, you know, growing up as a kid, I, I must have missed the vampire craze because I was, born in the 70s, way before, obviously Twilight and whatnot. And clearly after like Bella Lugosi doing vampires. Uh, but I think there's always been that mystique about them. There's been that, kind of that. Um, do you remember that movie, Once Bitten with Jim Carrey?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Remember that? So that was my first real like remembering what vampires were and that kind of that sexy kind of quality that vampires have. And that's what I was kind of looking forward to in this novel is there's a little bit of that, a little bit of romance in there. Um, because it's just intriguing the whole concept of vampires. But um, yeah, it's fun to play with the idea. Especially there is a group of vampires called Sunriders who thrive in the daylight. They want to fit in. They want to be normal. They kind of want to be more human and not draw attention to themselves. And there is a group of vampires that I call the Nightborn who want to be vampires. They want to do what vampires do, and they thirst for that. So having those two kind of conflicting uh, groups, and that kind of was born out of like the Hatfield and McCoys, is where that kind of came from for me. Is you have these two sides, conflicting sides, doing battle.
Man, what a fantastic explanation you have with this book. Of course, I'm intrigued, but you brought up everything that I really like. With Hatfield McCoys, you got vampires, and just like you, I'm born in the '70s. I would say I was raised '80s, but you know what we had in the '80s though? Because I know that when you're young, you look back at those vampire movies from today. As an adult, it's like very well done. Everything's great. You're thinking, oh, that's old people stuff. It's terrible. We had Lost Boys though. That's what we
Oh, we did
had.
have Lost Boys. Sure, yeah, yeah, we did have Lost Boys. And I was thinking there was something else that just popped in my head too, but I just forgot about it. But yeah, I do remember Lost Boys at that time frame as well.
Yeah, and then later in the '90s, there were some pretty good, I was called B movies about vampires, but one that might have been in the early 2000s. I don't know if you've seen this. I know it came from a graphic novel, but probably one of the better ones I've seen, and I haven't seen anything since then that got my attention. 30 Days of Night.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes. Yeah, I've not seen it, but I know exactly what you're talking about. That's the one where they're up north.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
way
they
up
have
north.
way up north where there's where there's no daylight for 30 days, I'm assuming. So yeah, yeah, I
But
have heard of that. I've seen the trailers and stuff, but that's a good call out. Stephen
that's
King wrote a really excellent book, Vampires, Salem's Lot. Um, and I think that kind of stands out in my head because that's a book my dad always talked about. That was one of the scariest books he ever read. Um, and that kind of played a lot of inspiration as far as my writing style goes. Like really, I mean, my dream, my goal would be to like be the Arizona version of Stephen King. That's what I'm wanting to do. That's what I would love to be able to do. That's why I incorporate a lot of Arizona. Um, and maybe a lot of that is because I want to write that scary book that my dad would go, that's the scariest book I ever read. Forget that Stephen King Salem's Lot book. So
oh no,
that's
that that'd be awesome.
maybe I'm always chasing after that. Maybe that's my inevitable goal.
No, that's your motivation. Go for it. Because like King, I know he puts up with movies and books, everything's based out of there in Maine. And
Yes, yeah. So
and I think it does a good service to the local people in the state as well because it's like an open invitation for you to learn more about that state and its culture. So it's kind of cool to have somebody in New York City reading your books, learning about Arizona that way too. So
right.
that's a plus as well. And so continuing on with another book, talk about a recent release, and we're talking about zombie and a collection of stories. So I'm going to bring this one up, Where It Gets In.
Yeah, where it gets in.
And
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I'm really proud of that book. And like I said, just to it's again, it's funny how things connect. And I just came across zombie media just out of luck, and reached out to Tom and sent him a couple things, sent him some samples, and then he said let's do something together. So I sent him two books that I thought would go together pretty well, and put it together as a double shot.
and tell me about this cover here because it tells you a story without giving it away. Let's talk about It's Not Real.
Yeah, so that section is coming from the short story Mites, which takes place inside of an apartment complex in Arizona, um, and there's these bugs, um, that are the guy can hear in the walls, he can hear in the apartment, um, and they start taking away his memories. They start stealing his thoughts. They start taking away. He can't remember names of like words for certain objects, and he's having to write down. He's having to write a lot of notes. Um, so that's just him, keeping trying to keep tabs on things.
And with these covers, because they're done so well, how do you come up with a concept of the book covers and you send it to somebody? And I'm
Yes,
gonna be yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean the concepts. I mean this is great work by that's Tom. Um, yeah, it's good stuff. That was a really cool thing too, is to be able um to see this stuff easier, and get, covers done. It really pulls in a lot of inspiration, really helps with advertising too, being able to put some stuff out there and do some advertising. But yeah, and then he incorporated the business card from Dream Repairers LLC. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah, it's almost the covers tell the story long before we even read the book, and I think mission accomplished on that one. I think it's very important, even with like sometimes album covers are the same way, and sometimes it works against you. Like let me give you an example. Now this is not you. I still growing up, I was a metalhead pretty much my whole life, right? So sometimes you see these real badass album covers,
Right.
and then you listen to it, it's like, oh come on, man. Perfect example is Molly Hatchet. Now, I'm thinking I'm gonna get a real badass metal album, and I didn't know anything back then. You can't really look these things up. And you're like, "Oh no, this is not what I was looking for." But with these books, these covers, you are getting exactly as advertised. And I think that's very important to. I can't give advice, but what you're doing is everything makes sense. You see what I'm saying? The artwork
Yeah.
makes sense with the stories, and it's already putting you in the mood to know what you're going to be expecting when you read this book.
Right. I mean, you wanna do something to draw people in. You gotta I mean, it's your first opportunity to like you're saying with, album covers, because you just wanna get somebody to read what you wrote. I remember when I got Crown of the Underworld done, and I remember them sending me, the artwork for that and getting to see that and, the excitement of, "Hey, that looks good. That fits the story," you know? But, and as much as the covers do for you, I think, the inside of that book is way more important to me, those words, telling those stories. That's, uh that's the ultimate goal is to get somebody to open up that book.
Yes, and I'm gonna say this for those who love Molly Hatchet. I'm not saying they're a terrible band. I'm saying that's not what I was looking for. Anybody who wishes to send me any mail or any indifferent thoughts, please send them to Zombie Media. He handles all my hate mail.
Yeah.
And
You
no,
don't you
that's
don't
not
hear too
true.
many you don't hear too many, Molly Hatchet, references.
No, not at all. I was pretty proud of that one actually. But thank you.
I spent
No.
I spent, 10 years working at Sam Goody, the music store.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
we used to have
yeah,
one of those.
did that for 10 years, so that's where my, knowledge of Molly Hatchet comes from.
Yeah. I tell you, Sam Goody had it had pretty much everything you can imagine there.
Good
Yeah.
times.
It was good times. And now we're buying physical media again. I mean, help me make sense out of this. I don't know. But
Have you
you
seen
see
how
in the
much
back here,
have you seen how much a vinyl record costs nowadays?
uh, what, about 25, 30
Like,
bucks?
brand new, they're like 70, 60, $70. Like, yeah, you could
Oh,
pick up a
well,
new
good
Taylor
luck with
Swift.
that.
Yeah, or like, I just saw, um, uh, like a Beatles album, and it's 65, $69, like, for vinyl.
I mean, I could probably go to my mom's house and sell you one. I mean,
Right.
if anybody's looking, we have them. We got Revolver. We
There you go.
got Sergeant Pepper. You know, bidding starts at $75.
What a great album.
So yeah, absolutely. And now, and I don't have it with me, my friend, because I was gonna steal it from Amazon, but I didn't know the legalities of that. Plus, you didn't send it to me, and that's okay. Let's talk about covers that are very disturbing. Mr. Popo. I wish I had that to show the listeners, our friends, but man, tell me about that.
Mr. Popo came from, so I don't have any kids. I don't have any children of my own. Um, but so I started thinking about what if there was this, what if there was this creature who came along and replaced parents who weren't doing the best, regardless of what the reasoning was. And so Mr. Popo is this creature that goes around from house to house and basically, um, creates new versions of the parents underneath the beds, to replace, the real parents. And most of the kids are kind of accepting of it, which is, I think, the darker, creepier part of the story is the kid in the story doesn't fear it. He's not afraid of it. He knows what it's doing, and he thinks it's doing it for the right, for the best reasons. Um, and so I remember when right after I wrote that, I sent it to uh, my I sent it to my girlfriend's daughter-in-law because she's got two young kids and had her read it, and that was that was before I even released it. And that was my reason for releasing it was that she read it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get that out there and release it to everybody. So, um, yeah, it's a creepy concept, but it's a fun concept.
And I think in certain areas of my town, I think Mr. Popo should be visiting to replace
Yeah,
some of these parents I've seen
yeah,
here. But that's a different
right.
side conversation. But that's perfect. I think that everyone's lifetime, you probably run across some kids, especially, I mean, if you were in school that perhaps, man, I wish this kid's parents were a lot better. So maybe we can conjure up Mr. Popo somehow to, you know,
To replace those parents, yeah.
just jostle them around a little bit. If you don't do what I tell you, I'll just replace you somehow.
Yeah, he would enjoy that.
Oh no, I would enjoy seeing him do it, my friend.
Fair enough.
But
That's fair.
and this, let me get. Sometimes I'm a Weisenheimer. Sometimes I'm gonna get back on track here. Now, on the pre-interview we had earlier before we started, you were telling me that you have a something new you're gonna be releasing here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, so I've been like I said, I've been releasing short stories every about in the beginning of every month, just to get something else out there, and then I did the Crown of a town called Sundown. But this coming Tuesday, I have a new short story coming out called Feast, that will release on Kindle, on, yeah, Tuesday, and then, June 18th, I'm gonna do my first, hardcover. My, one of my good buddies who's painting is behind me. Um, he's the drummer in my favorite band, which is kinda cool, man. If you, uh it's like if you were fans of the Beatles before, and, now Ringo Starr is one of your best friends. That's what this is like for me. Um, and he's been asking for a hardcover, like a hardcover instead of a paperback. So June 18th, I'm going to release a novel called Dust Devils. Comes out June 18th, and you can get that through Amazon. So yeah, that's exciting times.
Excellent. Feel free to drop the name of your friend's band. So now I gotta know.
That's Alien Fashion Show. And they're like a swing band back in the late '90s, but two brothers who are both really good friends of mine, and still to this day, So checking them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a spin. You already
Yeah,
said
it's cool
aliens. I'm
stuff.
already on the hook already as it began. And
Alien Fashion Show.
so
Yeah.
earlier I mentioned, probably during the interview or before we started recording, I've never been to Arizona. I think the closest I've been there is Colorado. We
Okay.
drove from DC to Colorado. I can't tell you the story, but it was in the 90s and things happened in the 90s. So, being that I've never been there, let's say there's something going on. I say, hey, Brian, I'm going to go hang out in Arizona. And I said, give me a couple of must see places I should visit when I get there.
Sure. Well, definitely, like we discussed, Tombstone would definitely be a spot I think everybody should go see. But of course, then you got the Grand Canyon. You got to go up north. Um, but I think to me, the number one spot people need to go to if they come to Arizona is Sedona. So Sedona is about 2 hours north, maybe an hour and a half north of Phoenix, up in the mountains and the red rocks of Sedona. I mean, you can even Google it and see how amazing that area is. But it also has a lot of that kind of spooky, supernatural kind of, people go up there and they take it really serious. And they talk about kind of the pull, like Sedona has this kind of emotional pull that they go through, and it feels different up there. It really does. So that's definitely, to me, I think the number one spot people should go to in Arizona is Sedona.
There's something to that. I think it needs more research as to why it has that pull or why people feel different when they enter. Maybe the
It's
energy or the gravitational pull, the magnetism. I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's something that, there's certain fields. I can't remember what they call it right now off the top of my head, but there's certain fields up in there that you stand in and just feel different. And there's a lot of spiritual, stuff going on up in Sedona.
It's definitely top of my list now. And I don't really travel that much. And so, I mean, you told me about places I should definitely visit. Let's talk about the cuisine because I understand it's pretty damn awesome up there.
Whoa, yeah. Arizona is definitely Mexican inspired, of course. So lots of great Mexican food places to eat. Uh, but I mean, me, I'm a steak and potatoes guy. So, you anywhere or anything with barbecue, of anything like that. So, but there's definitely a lot of good Mexican food restaurants in Arizona, especially in Phoenix, especially in Tucson. Tucson's even better.
Good. I'm a big fan of both. I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy, but I love Mexican food too.
Yeah,
So
it's good
you've
stuff.
already sold me. So I'm gonna try to get a coach seat though, because I can't afford first class, but I'll make it there eventually, my friend. Now for the magic question
Mhm.
for our friends and listeners of Bonus Overdrive Wednesday. They want to learn more about you, your books, and where are you going to be for the rest of 2026? Where can they go find out?
So, I mean, I'm on Instagram and I got TikTok, and if you just like look, Brian Wayne Hand underscore author, you can find me on that or Facebook, man. That's where I'm at a lot. They could just look me up or, you know, look you up if they're friends of you, send me a message. My goal right now is I'm trying to get some of my books into, there's a bookstore here, a local bookstore, called Cult Fiction. So I'm trying to get some stuff there, and I want to do there. It's one of those cool bookstores that you walk into and just instantly feel like I want to read a book. I want to write a book. You're just inspired when you walk in there, which is cooler to me, than like a Barnes and Noble. It's that old school, um, you know, bookstore. And so that's my goal, is to get in there and do some. I really want to do like a signing there. So Cult Fiction ever sees this, I talk to them all the time, and I'm trying to work something out and get some stuff going there. But yeah, anybody can reach out to me through you, and I'd love to talk. It's a good time.
Absolutely. And I'll put all the information for your socials on the episode description once I release this episode. Brian, my friend, it's been awesome getting to know you now, kind of in person, because we've been back and forth on the messenger.
Yes, sir.
And I know by the end of this year, you're probably going to be releasing a few more things. I'd love to have you back. Let's talk about them. And let's talk some more about some of these very interesting locations in Arizona. I'm very interested in that.
Dude, come out to Arizona. We can do a live broadcast from one of these creepy places too.
All right, man. We'll definitely do that. Thank you, my friend.
Dude, thanks.
All content on this broadcast is a property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Bonus Overdrive Wednesday. The information shared on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.